Wait a minute now. Am I live already? That was not supposed to happen. So that was supposed to be the intro. But hey, check it out. We are live, so we're just going to dive right into it. So, first and foremost, I got to say, I got a brand new little intro, which I definitely want to kick off with. But we are here. So, check this out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to dive into where is this camera switch? Here we go. So, as usual, we are back. This is the second episode of Good Bits, and it's really, really funny that I have some really cool, I guess you would say, stories to cover and dive into. And I think that you'll be into it. So, in case you're not familiar, this is the second week that we're doing it. My name is Taj, by the way. I will be helping out Cade with different live streams, different things that we're doing on the stream, and a lot of positive feed, a lot of positive reinforcement, if you will, within the Bitcoin ecosystem, just sharing all these amazing stories that we are coming across. We have the opportunity to be in a lot of wonderful conversations. And I think a lot of people aren't necessarily, depending how your algorithm is set up and so forth, seeing some of these stories. So we just want to share them with you. And the idea of this Good Bit stream is to share the amazing things that's happening in the Bitcoin ecosystem, as far as various things that are happening with people donating Bitcoin, giving Bitcoin, doing really cool things in the community, helping Bitcoiners, getting people onboarded and so forth, but also the things that are happening within circular economies all around the world. People are using Bitcoin as payment. I know that sounds absolutely crazy if you're in Europe or in the States and so forth, but we're sharing all of these different things and highlighting what people are doing. And I think that's absolutely amazing that we have this opportunity. And last but not least, we're going to speak about all the things that builders are doing to not only make this money store value, charts go up, and all those things that we like to talk about, but of course, to have utility, have something beneficial to humanity. And we get the opportunity to see all these different things. So, first and foremost, I just want to say thanks for hanging out with us. Those of you that are here, especially in the States, as the NFL playoffs are going on right now, you have lots of things to do. It is the weekend, but we are here and we're going to talk about some Bitcoin, some feel good stories that come across the news feed. And I'm just absolutely excited. Hopefully, your year has started off. We had an amazing week, whether you're looking at the stock market, you're looking at all the headlines, just so many different things are happening right now on a positive note. And I know you can either look at the negative and say, hey, this is crazy times, or you can look at the positive and say, look, there is so much going on, but here's all the bright lights shining through. And that's what we like to do. So, the first thing that we're going to kick off on and look at is a few things and various different communities that are doing really cool things. And I'm going to pull up my screen right here so you can actually see what I'm looking at. And one of the communities that I really want to highlight is Bitcoin Dominicana. Now, Bitcoin Dominicana is doing some really cool things, of course, in the Dominican Republic, as the name implies, Bitcoin Dominicana. And it was actually really cool because I had a couple opportunities to have a conversation with the team over there, and they gave me some great ideas of what I can do locally, get these Bitcoin clubs going and so forth. But they're doing amazing things. As you can see, there's different workshops, there are classes and information that they're putting up. But what I really wanted to highlight is this particular post right here, in which this is in Spanish, by the way. If you don't speak Spanish, I'm struggling, such as, to figure out this exactly. But I threw it into Chat GPT. But look, there's a translate button too as well. So they started offering classes in partnership with My First Bitcoin. And the cool thing with this is that they're doing, oops, excuse me, covering up the screen a little bit. They're doing Zoom classes onboarding people in Dominican Republic. And I think that's absolutely amazing. A lot of times we're spending time on the news feed. We are spending time on spaces, but there are local communities all around the world that have these Bitcoin clubs that are onboarding. They have educational centers, they have workshops, they have Zoom calls, they have you go out into the market and just onboard merchants and different vendors and so forth. They do a lot of different things. And I think this is just really cool. Kicking off the year, they're doing live classes here on Zoom in the Dominican Republic, onboarding people onto Bitcoin. And I think that's just really, really interesting in the sense that these people, it might be their very first time hearing about Bitcoin. So you have someone local in your own language, Spanish, Chinese, French, wherever you are in the world, all the multiple languages and dialects in different regions. So you know all the cultural nuances and you can onboard someone. It's one thing to hop on an American space and hear about Bitcoin and all these different things. And those problems might not resonate with you. But when you have someone local, such as all these different clubs, so you can search, there's clubs for just about every country. There's clubs for states, there's clubs for regions, there's in Miami, there's hundreds of them all over Africa, there's Southeast Asian clubs and so forth, and they have pages set up just like this. Some of them are very small, some of them are huge, and they're all doing the same thing, orange pilling people, onboarding them. And I think that's absolutely amazing how they were able to impact us here where I live in Jamaica in a couple ways. Number one, there was Bitcoin Pizza Day that was in May, and they were kind enough to actually sponsor some pizzas over here for us. So we gave those out and we said, hey, your friends over in Dominican Republic absolutely love you guys, want you to know that there's Bitcoin and welcome you to the club. And they sponsored a pizza for you. So I had some really cool videos just going out there, buying pizzas with sats and saying that the people over in Dominican Republic are thinking of you all the way over in Jamaica. And that's a real cool, unique thing that we have, an opportunity we have within the Bitcoin community, where people all over the world are connected by this crazy idea called sound money, right? So as we're orange pilling our local communities, we can even go way beyond our borders thanks to the internet and onboard people that we'll never have contact with. And I just think that's really cool. And congratulations to Bitcoin Dominicana and getting those workshops up and running. Now, the second story that I have is also related to what they did in Bitcoin Dominicana. As I said, I had the opportunity to have a call with the crew over there, and they gave me an idea, if you will, and that was to onboard my barber. He said, hey, do you go to the same barber every single week? And I said, absolutely, I do. So he said, there's an opportunity there for you to onboard your barber. All you have to do is talk to him about Bitcoin and say you'll tip him in Bitcoin. Now, how I was able to do that was with this local wallet here. This is called Flash. And Flash is very similar to the Blink wallet, which was in El Salvador, that started off in Bitcoin Beach. And it's all open source technology and so forth. I get a little more into that a little bit later, but I was able to set him up one day, hot spotted him and within a couple of minutes, he set up his wallet and I started tipping him. Now, the interesting thing is the original plan was to pay him in cash because that's what I've been doing all along, and then give him his tip in sats. This guy got orange pilled, is really excited about the whole opportunity, and he started to say, well, how can I get more? And now we're having the conversation as, well, I can just pay you outright the entire thing in Bitcoin. I can even get you on board so that you can accept this, put you on the map, if you will, as the Bitcoin barber. And he was like, oh, that'd be cool. And so now we have a guy, all because I had a conversation with someone over in Dominican Republic about orange pilling my barber. I set up his wallet and I started tipping him in sats, and now he's a Bitcoiner. So it's just really cool. And again, I would have never, ever thought about that. I've been doing workshops. I've been doing various things trying to get people on board. And it's just really, really funny that a simple thing like, hey, you have a barber, right? Why don't you onboard him and tip him in sats? It never crossed my mind. Now, I'm a guy who actually bought pizza and socks, and I've paid for things in Bitcoin before. And I never thought of just asking my barber if he would take sats. Crazy, right? So thanks to our friends over in the Dominican Republic for that wonderful idea. He gave me that idea, and now my barber is a Bitcoiner. So really cool stuff there, and I really appreciate him for that. The third story that I have is related to a crazy story that I actually saw, and a lot of people are probably thinking that was in the thumbnail, that two Bitcoins were donated to a map project. Like, what? Bitcoiners are giving away their Bitcoin to maps? All right, this gets really interesting. So I'm going to pull this up. And you might be wondering, why on earth? I thought we're supposed to lock down our Bitcoin forever. And out of all the things, a map project. Well, this map project right here, I think is really cool, is Bitcoin Maps. And they're using open source technology to create a map of Bitcoiners. And as I'm loading this up, you can see right now, I'm going to see the open map. I'm going to open the map and I'm going to go and show you what is going on my local map and show you how this technology helps to find Bitcoiners locally. And of course, it opened up a new tab, but there we go. So you find Bitcoiners locally. You can find them. This is in Jamaica. Of course, this is Kingston, the capital city, but there's other Bitcoin businesses and opportunities to spend sats on the island. But it's not just a Jamaican thing. I can zoom out. I can go over to Cuba. Cuba's in the news a lot. And I've had the opportunity to speak to quite a few people that are in Cuba. Also, thanks to a community organization that I'm a part of, Carib DAO, and one of our members is there in Cuba. And as you can see, all of these different places where you can spend your Bitcoin. Let's go to the States. In case you're in the States, in case you're thinking that no one in the States is spending their sats, Jack Dorsey is crazy trying to convince everyone to use their stats. Well, there's a lot of businesses and opportunities all across the States, in Canada, and all around the world for that matter, of people that are accepting Bitcoin. Let's go all the way to our friends down under, right? So here we have groups in Sydney, and a very interesting fact about Australia. Australia is very spread out, and basically to get to these different cities, you have to fly there. I don't know if you know that. Someone who grew up in the States, you just drive around and you have cross country trips. Well, Australia being a continent and just being really huge and spread out, really interesting history there. But to get to Sydney and Perth and all these different places, you actually have to fly around. So random little fact. And as you can see on the map, Australians are into Bitcoin. Now, going back to the story itself, why did Bitcoiners give to a map project? It might sound absolutely crazy, but as you can see here, this is obviously a project that maps out various Bitcoiners, but it goes way deeper than that. What most people don't realize is that most map technologies that you use, whether you're on your Uber apps, you're on Airbnb, anything of that nature, you're probably plugging into the API of Google Maps or Microsoft or one of them, but most likely it's Google Maps. And it is a multi-billion-dollar business. Now, the last stats that I found, if you're into like the finance of companies and so forth, how Google has just so many streams of revenue, and one of them is Maps. Maps makes a killing for them. They actually bought the original Google Maps. There's two layers of it. There is the Google Earth map company, and then there's the Google Maps that most of us use on our phones. They bought the Google Maps version for $2 million, and now it's making something like 64 billion, 65 billion per year. That was data that I found from 2 years ago. How they make this money is because when they connect to the API, these various businesses and so forth are paying them per usage. So anytime you're typing in your address in a credit card form or something, and it pops up and it says autocomplete, and it allows you to just click and it shows your address, that's using a Google API, most likely. Like I said, there's other options, but most likely you're using the Google API. And each time you do that, the business has to pay about 3 cents. This is the last numbers I saw. So just imagine each time that you're shopping online, that thing pops up, 3 cents. They're making a fortune on this thing. So a lot of this connecting to the API gets very expensive very quickly. And in order to build on it, use it in your app, you have to pay a licensing fee. So open source maps are really important in the sense that people that want to build, they have the opportunity to, I guess you would say, build without having to pay those fees and have the restrictions of the corporation. And it's really interesting in the sense that I'm going to go back to the story of where they donated these Bitcoin, if you will, to this project. And it's down here. There are the original post. Thank you for 2 Bitcoin donations to OpenStreetMaps. So yes, depending when you're looking at this, roughly $180,000 went to a map project, open source, allowing people to use the API in whatever way you see fit. So you might be thinking that's absolutely crazy. I can't believe someone donated their sats, their Bitcoin for that. Well, I opened up by showing you a map I showed you where other Bitcoin businesses were. You could go and support them. You can get off the quote unquote dirty fiat hamster wheel, if you will. And it's all because of open source maps. And a project like this, something that you probably would never think about, is a recipient of 2 Bitcoin, and it allows them to keep developing and get this project up and running. And so if you're building any kind of Bitcoin app, you're building any kind of Bitcoin business, you want to get on a map and so forth, most likely you're going to use an open source map such as this. So they have to keep the lights on. A lot of times we think that things are free and it just somehow magically keeps running. But no, there's bills, they have server costs and so on. And a donation like this keeps the project running and the dev team going, helps them to find bug fixes, add new features that the community requests, and so on. And it's all because of donations. And a Bitcoiner saw this fit and gave to it. Now, I didn't even go the route of different humanitarian companies and aid going into very local regions, and you can edit these maps and put things on there that are very local and specific that you wouldn't find on Google Maps. So Google Maps is very broad market, very, I guess you'd say, proprietary in the sense that they are the ones controlling everything. And with an open source map that's editable and it can be taken down to a local purpose, then people can use that for whatever it needs. It's like, so if there's, let's say in Jamaica here, there's the hurricane relief. If you want to target specific locations that were hit very hard, you can tag these things up. You can make a map of disaster relief, where carpenters are needed. Anything that your mind can possibly think of, you can use a map and then open source it and then put it up there so people can find whatever it is that you're trying to direct them towards. And there's not that ongoing fee of having to pay for APIs and all those different things. So really interesting there. And if you really are into finance, I assume you are because you're watching a Wolf stream, and that's kind of what we do. That's our bread and butter. And we have all these different conversations on our various pages. So if you want to check out something that's really interesting that you probably never even thought of, is how Google makes money off of Google Maps. Just go watch some videos on that and just like go down that rabbit hole. It's pretty interesting. So it's just really admirable that someone would actually care about cutting the cost for that in order to get people using the maps. So that brings us to our second segment, which I get to call Bitcoin Circular Economies, right? Not very original there, but it is a really cool thing. I talk about it all the time. Anyone that knows me just knows that I always bring up Bitcoin Circular Economies. And what I'm going to show you is a really cool map right here. And of course, everything I had preloaded up is in queue. So let's pull this up here. And this page right here is going to show some really cool things that's happening in Africa. Now, in this particular, this map right here shows over 167 local communities that are using Bitcoin. And I think that is amazing. A lot of times we're talking about trading, we're talking about preserving wealth, and we're talking about assets and all of this stuff exploding, ETFs, and just this huge flood of money over the last few years. Trillions of dollars are now into this asset, is 100% legitimized by Wall Street, big banks, governments. There's just no denying it anymore. If you don't think Bitcoin is here to stay, then, well, I don't know what to tell you. Then, hey, maybe I could sell you Greenland. I'm the Lord of Greenland, and I'm accepting offers right now. But no, in all seriousness, though, 167 Bitcoin projects all across the continent of Africa. And this map right here just highlights all of them. And I think this is just really cool because I said that people are spending Bitcoin, there's maps and so forth. So how do all of these communities find each other, find businesses and so forth? It all connects. These open source maps, the ability to plug information on the internet and find other people that are accepting sats. So all across the continent of Africa, really interesting that they are able to go there and see all these different projects. Now, really interesting thing about Africa, I'm just going to say that out of every continent that I check out, because I try to look really global, I try to see what's happening outside of my bubble and all of these things that I normally see that I'm used to. Someone grew up in New York, very New York way of thinking, even though I'm Jamaican and I live in Jamaica now and all this. It's almost like I didn't really realize how much of a bubble I was in until I started traveling the world and seeing how different things are once you leave, especially the coasts. Even if you just go inland to middle America, it's a very different experience. One of the cool things that I actually did after I left college, I took a cross country train trip and from New York all the way to San Francisco, a really cool experience. But trust me, it's a very different country in the middle of the US. So, anyways, getting outside of your bubble, seeing what's out there, and seeing how different people are using Bitcoin is just really interesting. So these 167 communities, they are doing some very interesting things as far as onboarding, educating people, solving the problems right where they are locally, because everyone has their own problem, their own thing that they will care about and is not necessarily preserving wealth. If you have no wealth to preserve, well, guess what? You don't care about that. You just want to know how to get dinner. You just want to know how to get bread to your family. And depending where you are locally, that is why it is very important that you have local communities all across the world that know how to touch people and reach them where they are. So this morning on Wolf Bitcoin, there was this story that came up about, could you imagine having $50 trillion and you couldn't buy bread? Now, that sounds like a crazy story, but it is the absolute truth. Now, this picture right here is $100 trillion notes from Zimbabwe. And we like to talk about hyperinflation and all that stuff, but not until you really see it, that you see that there was $100 trillion note in Zimbabwe and people could not afford anything with it. Like it was just not valuable whatsoever. So that was really, really interesting to see that all around the world, in particular, in Africa, they're going over to the Bitcoin standard much more than other places simply because they need it, right? It is a thing of necessity. It, again, is very local. Bitcoin is local. One of the earliest places to get your Bitcoin was local Bitcoins, and it's in the name. It's a local thing. They say all politics is local. Well, maybe we could say all Bitcoin, all sats are local. What you value in Bitcoin is very dependent on where you live and what your needs are. So, interesting fact, most people don't know. I didn't know this actually. Per capita, Ethiopia is number 12 in Bitcoin adoption. Now, if you are like me, grew up in the 90s, seeing all of these, charity videos and so forth, the last thing that I would have thought when I started looking around and checking out all these projects is that Ethiopia is heavily, heavily invested in this Bitcoin ecosystem and circular economies and so forth. I thought that was really cool. Stat that a lot of people don't necessarily know. I thought it was interesting. But of course, yes, we did highlight this map, the 167 different projects and growing, by the way. So probably by the time I'm streaming this and you're watching this, that 167 might be 168, maybe it's near 200. Hey, it's all good. Just as Bitcoin Dominicana reached out to me, there's people all around the world that are reaching out to their friends, family, and they are bringing people into this amazing world of Bitcoin. And it's not just us crazy internet people that are talking about orange pilling people. No, there's real benefits that are going out to people. And it's just really interesting to see all around the world how people are adopting this, and not just adopting this, but also sharing it with others. They're starting different local clubs and communities. And I think that's a beautiful thing and is benefiting humanity, right? They are people, and you can read all of the different things about why someone would start to go over to the Bitcoin standard and leave the fiat standard behind. Again, very local, lots of things on that. This is not the stream for it, but I just want to say great things are happening all around the world, and we get to highlight that. And I think it would be, I guess you would say, it would be hard to have this conversation and not highlight the fact that there are builders all around the world doing some really great things in relation to, in relation to Bitcoin, right? There are some really, really cool technologies that are out there. And it all started with Lightning, to be honest. Lightning is still kind of controversial in certain circles. I don't know why that is, but it actually is. because not everyone is into the idea of spending your Bitcoin. Not everyone wants to have, I guess you would say, people spending sats because they think it's just silly. Like, why would you spend sats? Why would you spend the strongest currency? That doesn't make any sense in a lot of people's minds. Well, depending where you are, you just might not even accept your local currency. Your local currency might have failed. I spoke about Bitcoin earlier within Zimbabwe. Little known fact, their currency was completely disregarded by their people. Like you could not pay them to take it. Like they just would not accept it for payment. And this is very similar to what happened in Iraq actually prior to the second Gulf War, or this during the second Gulf War. They knew that the invasion was coming, the US was coming, and the government was going to be overthrown. So that currency that was there, they stopped accepting it and they started using the older Iraqi dinar, which is a discontinued dollar after the first Gulf War. And the reason why they actually went that route and they were using a currency that was not officially sanctioned by the government is because it was in fixed supply. Why would you say it was in fixed supply? Again, another thing you can research is really cool. That the plates that they actually used before the first Gulf War in the 90s, all those plates to make those the original dinar was destroyed. So it had a fixed supply. So it was actually being destroyed, whether they're torn, they're beat up, they're lost, whatever it is, people burying their money in their backyard and it just gets eaten away, fires and so forth. So the supply was going down, unlike the other dinar, which was the official government dollar, that as the war started to heat up and they're building up and they're adding soldiers and so forth, they were printing more. So that was being devalued. On the other hand, the currency that could not be produced anymore was deflationary and was more valued by the people. So after the invasion, all the crazy things that actually happened there, the unofficial currency had a better conversion rate to get US dollars and everything else simply because people valued it more. So anytime people say that Bitcoin is not real, doesn't have any value, and I mean, yes, there's still people out there that believe that, believe it or not. Maybe not in your circles, but in my circles, I still get this all the time. Well, it's not really real. Well, if people value it, it is real. If people value it, it is real, my friend. And there goes my camera. So there we go. Speaking of being real, this is a live stream. As you can see, things happen in real time and it's all a part of the show. We just roll with the punches. So we're here and it's just really interesting that people are able to do all this amazing stuff and it doesn't have to necessarily be sanctioned by a government. It doesn't have to be forced from the top down simply because the people see the value in it, their problems are being solved, and it's a beautiful thing. So going to this right here, we're gonna look at the Blink wallet. Now, the Blink wallet, those of you might not even be familiar with this. Now, this is where all this stuff kind of glues together in the technology. And this is the last story that I'm gonna have. I try to get you out of here quickly, just give you some good feel-good stories, some positive things on your timeline. But the Blink wallet, formerly known as the Bitcoin Beach wallet, has inspired all sorts of wallets all around the world. And those of you that are not understanding what's going on within Bitcoin circular economies, what's happening with people spending Bitcoins and so forth, go look up the Bitcoin Beach wallet, how it evolved into this open source wallet that communities all around the world, those different 167 communities that are in Africa, they have different ones. In Kenya, they have the Tando wallet. I said here in Jamaica, we're using the Flash wallet. All around the world, you can find different wallets because it's open source. This is how it all connects. It's all, trust me, it's all related. So we had open source maps. We have open source wallets. We have an open source there for everybody to see currency, and it all glues together and it is benefiting people and making things just absolutely amazing for people. So look up the Bitcoin Beach wallet, look up how it is open source, the code behind it, and heck, in your local community, if you want to start your own wallet using Bitcoin, you can use the code to do that. It's really cool. The Git is up there. And I think that is absolutely amazing. So hopefully you found these stories as interesting as I do, because it's one thing for me to find them and sit here and just nerd out and have a good time. But it's even more important Oh man, what is going on with this camera? It is even more important for me to be able to share this with you guys. And I think that is absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you taking this again on a Saturday afternoon. You could be watching the NFL. You could be doing a lot of things. You could be hanging out with your family, but you're here watching this good bit stream with us at Wolf Bitcoin. And it's just really important to us. We appreciate every single one of you that comes through and just communicates with us, checks out all the stuff that we are doing, and it's just absolutely amazing. I'm going to look at the comments here. Bitcoin price predictions for 2050. Yeah, not happening on the stream, my man, Cade. It is really, really cool. This is TS. What is this? Posted this stream. Oh, awesome. Really, I really appreciate that, that you reposted the stream, TSN. Trying to spread the good vibes, trying to spread Bitcoin adoption, good stories. And I really appreciate you doing that. So really, really, really appreciate that. Abby as well. Thank you for reposting this stream. And we put a lot of time into the content that we put out here. And it really does mean a lot to us. And the last thing that I'm just going to say is, as we're getting ready to head out of here, is we put out some content every single day of the week. And it's just really, really a blessing to see how it has impacted people. And I just wanted to share with everyone that the schedule is already up. Man, I had this up here. The schedule is already up for the next week, and you can check out the various shows, the various things that we're doing, and you can have conversations with us. We will be here every single day of the week. There is some sort of content, and we really appreciate every single one of you. We have great streams. Bits of Wealth does an amazing stream. I am not a trader, and I learned so much from that. We have Cade. We have lots of interviews, spaces every single day, all sorts of topics. Whatever you're into, we cover it. Really appreciate you. And again, want to spread the good vibes. Want to say we'll be back same time every single week. This has been Good Bits. I'm Taj, aka Tropic. I should be switching my name over soon because pretty much everyone's starting to know me as Taj now. So that's my real name, my government name. I will see you all later. Have a wonderful week. It has been a blessing.